Okay, ready for the second half? Okay, so I will speak somewhat quickly, but the idea of the event is to inspire and to motivate. A lot of the content consumption and acting on that content will take place from just being engaged in the closed group. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna talk about that 30-day challenge, and one of the things that I always love to do is like vision or future cast. So this is a drill that they do in a lot of like life-changing or life coaching. Is the idea, and I'm not gonna have us go through all the way, you can do this on a later date, but close your eyes, and I want you to think about what your life looks like if you do not change. Think about continuing down the bad health pathway, the nutritional choices that are adding more fatigue or more inflammation. Think that's like the pain is getting worse. The idea that you have to, the doctor's trying to convince you that you need to take another medication. The idea that you have less energy, so when the family wants to go do all this fun stuff, you just don't feel good, or you can't do it, or that you get the scary diagnosis and the stress that you're putting on your family. Feel it. What does that feel like to live with the regret of making those decisions that led to the bad outcome? Feel it. Now stop. Now think about if you decide to start making different choices. Think about the way you will look if you really just crush this 30-day challenge. Think about how you'll feel waking up in the morning without inflammation, without pain. Think about the energy you will have to get more done. Not just go to work and do your job, but maybe come home with extra energy to do things with the people that you love. Imagine being able to come off of medications. Imagine able to reverse diagnoses. Imagine living into your 70s or 80s and being able to be free of pain or free of drugs, or to be free to do anything that you want to do. Live the life where you can enjoy well into your 80s. Feel it. What kind of happiness, what kind of joy does that bring? The choice is yours. And it can really start a week from Monday. So we're not starting tomorrow, this is Super Bowl. I was having a conversation with somebody in the back, and I want this to be very, very clear. If you decide to try to do better and you have a setback, you are not a failure. Your past failures do not determine your future. If you try to improve on living the 5 essentials, just because you had a Super Bowl weekend and you crushed 6 beers and a bunch of nachos, like, tomorrow is a new day. Does that make sense? Like, so just know that, like, you can always improve. Who's been adjusted on Monday mornings? What do I always say? TGIM. Thank God it's Monday. Why do I say that? Because Monday is the start of a new week. No matter what happened last week, today's a new. You could have had the best week or the worst week. It doesn't matter, because today I get to choose what this week is going to look like moving forward. Does that make sense? So again, we're going to do this 30-day challenge, and just because you might not do it 100% does not mean you are a failure. Okay? So part of metabolic activity or having a healthy metabolic function is exercise. Exercise is a big part of it. Now, 80% of weight loss is nutritional. Okay, but just to be healthy metabolically, we need to move. We have a genetic requirement to move. And I'm being super transparent with you. So our twins are 18 months old or so. I need this challenge more than anybody here, okay? If you looked at my gym, it doesn't exist. I have a lawnmower and motorcycle and a bunch of junk just parked in the area that I would normally work out, okay? Because my garage has all the Christmas decorations. It's a mess. I would never want you to see it. So I have to make a commitment to try to make sure that I get some activity, because that part of my 5 essentials has been lacking. So I am in no different boat than y'all. I need to clean up and make a little bit better decisions and do this challenge because I want to change my thermostat a little bit. Okay? So I'm in the same boat of you. That's why Dr. Jill said in the beginning, we want to do life together. We're in it together. We are not perfect. I've been doing it for probably longer than most of you, but it just means that like I have less excuses. Okay? All right, so metabolic activity. And we teach on some different kinds of exercise. Now walking is good. However, walking doesn't really make you sweat. Walking doesn't make you breathe heavy. The idea with exercise is to do a little bit of movement to get your heart rate going and to basically increase your body's ability to like blow through your glycogen stores. If you want to lose weight, the one thing I would tell you is try to exercise fasted. And you want to do some sort of movement where it's high intensity, low duration. And the idea is that you want to burn through your glycogen stores. So that way you empty your sugar reserves so your body can start burning fat. You store sugar in two places. You store sugar in your muscles, you store sugar in your liver. Once those two stores are full, then the sugar is dumped into your bloodstream and then you get insulin resistance and diabetes, okay? If you can deplete your glycogen stores, the sugar stores, or increase your muscle mass, you have more room to store sugar. Or if you clean your liver, do the detox, clean your liver, you can handle eating the sugar better than you can now. So sugar is less impactful to someone who has room to store the sugar, whether they have lots of muscles or their muscles are clean or their liver is clean. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's all I'm gonna say on exercise, okay? We'll talk more about it in the closed group. Here are the 8 strategies to shopping at the grocery store. So here's all like what we call like your writer downers. I'm gonna go through quick, they will be in the slides, or I'll put this stuff up on the closed group. So number 1 is schedule date and time. The worst thing you could ever do shopping for groceries is do it when you're hungry. That is a terrible idea, okay? So schedule time and day, go in there with a plan. So going through the recipe book and trying to identify these are the ingredients that you need, that's with the plan. Don't just go in there and be like, oh, that sounds good, oh, this sounds good, oh, this sounds good. That's a terrible idea, okay? Who's ever been victim to that? Oh, yeah, okay. Shop the perimeter. Who's ever heard this? You want to shop the horseshoe? All the junk is on the inner layers, okay? So if you stay around the horseshoe, you're more likely to get better choices, okay? Now, if you shop at like Natural Grocers or Sprouts, you have to worry less about the choices that you're making. So for instance, so when I'm at Target, even though they have some organic foods, like if I'm buying jalapenos in the jar, like there's no like organic jalapenos. They all have like red dye number 5 or yellow 6 or whatever, and all the preservatives. But they just don't have that at Sprouts. Like the version of that in the aisle where I would buy jalapenos in the jar, they just don't have the yellow dye in it. So you have less to worry about if you go to one of those stores. I have no financial ties to those stores. It's just a better place to shop, okay? All right, so buy more foods with less labels. Read labels, don't just look at the calorie count. So when you're looking at like the white part, right, where it says like how many grams of sugar or the calories, try to avoid that, read more of the ingredients. If I could make you like a food reading label ninja to identify what things you should or should not be putting in your body, or to just understand how bad those things are for you, you wouldn't eat them. Fair enough? Okay, so reading labels is more important than the calories in, okay? And then, so reading labels, do's and don'ts, again, you've got to make sure you're looking for artificial ingredients. So if you can't pronounce it, just don't eat it, okay? So how many ingredients are in an apple? 1. How many ingredients are in a Lunchable? Like 100 billion. Okay? So typically you want to avoid anything that has like 14 or more ingredients as kind of a rule of thumb. Okay? But the less ingredients, the better. So if you were going to eat like a bar, like not a candy bar, but like a bar, like Lar bars have like 4 ingredients. Now, I'm not promoting Lar bar because I'm pretty sure they're owned by Coca-Cola. But better than like a Snickers that has like 38 billion different ingredients. Okay? So fewer ingredients, the better. Look for natural ingredients and avoid the chemical stuff. So again, if you can't read it or pronounce it, don't eat it. Beware of marketing. Low fat, avoid low fat stuff, okay? Because they took the fat out, which is probably the only good thing in there, and they put a bunch of sugar in it. Low carb, gluten-free. Again, you want, like in general, the advanced plan is a gluten-free diet. Who's ever you ever heard of gluten issues? Okay, so if you've ever been on the side of the fence where you should or shouldn't do gluten-free, the problem with gluten is it's not what it used to be. Like gluten today is not what gluten used to be. Everybody has a gluten issue. Whether they have a symptom or not is different, okay? So I did a food sensitivity test, and a very in-depth one, very expensive. Not because I had symptoms, but because other people were doing it, and I was like, me too. Oh, I had FOMO, right? Fear of missing out? I had FOMO real bad, so I was like, I want to do this too. So I did this food sensitivity test, and I was off the chart, having allergic or immune reactions to gluten. And there were several other things in there too that were very eye-opening, because I don't feel like I have symptoms when I have gluten, but I was having immune responses. And if you're consuming food that is taxing your immune system is not fighting off cancer or disease. So if you're stressing your immune system from small exposures to toxins, or bad foods, or inflammatory foods, or foods that you might have an allergic reaction, not an allergic reaction to, an immune reaction to, you're minimizing the energy your immune system has to fight off cancer or disease. So consuming foods that constantly create immune responses is a terrible idea. Now, if you want to do a food sensitivity test, which I'm not offering at this event, we might talk about that down the road. I do think that it's a good idea, but in general, if you didn't want to spend the $500 on one of these sort of tests, just assume that you have immune responses to these foods, like gluten, and just don't eat it. Okay, which is in everything, but try to avoid it as much as you can. Now, if you want to take one step further, the advanced plan is pretty similar to an autoimmune elimination diet. Who's ever heard of an autoimmune elimination diet? So you're just trying to remove the things that people are typically getting immune responses to. It's just a good idea, okay? So that's just one step further. Now, watch for sugars and understanding the different labels of sugar so that they can hide sugar. There's a billion different names for sugar. In fact, I said stevia is one of the things you want to do instead of sugar, but there's a stevia brand called Stevia in the Raw. Who's ever heard of that? The number one ingredient is dextrose, which is sugar. So be aware of the sugar that's hidden in there. Is that, yes? Okay. So again, this is where if you just become a food reading label ninja, this is some of the stuff that really help you be able to sift through it. Now, who's ever come to a shop with a doc? We used to do this event called Shop with the Doc, where we would meet at the grocery store, and I would walk people through the grocery store and teach them how to shop groceries, how to read food labels. Frustrating, yes or yes? Because at the end you're like, what do we eat? I'm like, can't eat that, can't eat that, can't eat that. And it is frustrating because our food industry is just so tainted. But again, it's just, getting healthy is not easy. It is simple. Apple, donut. Simple choice, not easy though, okay? All right. So, thermostat. I talked about thermostats earlier. I want to spend a little bit of time right here because, again, health is not about how we heal or not about how we eat or how we look. It's about how our body functions and heals. We talked about this thermostat. Remember we talked about the weight thermostat, yes? Yeah. Okay, so your body has this thermostat when it comes to health. Now, instead of thinking of health like symptoms, I want you to think about health like a spectrum of function. So we talked before, if your lungs function at 100%, what do you not have? Asthma. If your heart functions at 0, what are you? Dead. It's not till about 60% where symptoms start to show up. So 100% function is life and vitality at 100% to its fullest. As we get exposed to stressors, like chemical stress, like emotional stress, like toxic stress, like if we get exposed to these stressors, we start to slide down on this scale. Does that make sense? Yes. So you're born healthy, you're created to, your normal, your thermostat normal is health. Your normal expression of life is health. As we have stressful events, chemical, physical, emotional, if we have toxic things that happen, we start to move down the spectrum. And lack of exercise, move down the spectrum. 60% is where we normally start to express symptoms. Now, if someone has a symptom, what's the average person in America do? They run to who? And they get a what? They get a pill. And they do what? They feel better, or their numbers change and they look good on the numbers, or they feel better. But does that make them come closer to 100%? No, in fact, the underlying cause of the problem is still there. The lifestyle choices or the underlying damage is still there. So guess which way they typically tend to go? They continue to go that direction. If you take drugs, do you get more healthy? No. So they're chemicals that add more dysfunction and disease, yes? Again, we talked about the side effects of the dry, itchy eyes, taking medication, bleeding on your butt. Okay? So it goes this way. But that's what the medical system is designed. It's about treating symptoms. It's not about trying to get you here. Okay? But when we get to 60, that's when symptoms show up. So if someone's at 70, are they fully healthy? No. But they might not have a symptom. Health is not the absence of disease. Health is not the absence of a symptom. Disease is the absence of health. So light doesn't exist in the absence of dark. Dark exists in the absence of light. You cannot fight the darkness. You can only light a candle. You cannot fight disease. You can only build health. Tracking? So our entire goal with every single person that we talk to or interact with is designed to try to get them on this direction of the spectrum. I don't want to treat your symptom. I want to get your body so healthy and so strong it doesn't have a symptom. Does that make sense? So health is function, and what controls the function of your body? What controls the function of your heart? What is the main organ that runs everything? It's your brain and your spinal cord. Now, it's not just the brain and spinal cord itself, because if I had a dead body right here, they have a brain and spinal cord, yes? If I cut their arm, what does not happen to the cut? It doesn't heal. It might, it could trickle blood, but maybe not. It could coagulate, yes. But it doesn't heal. The cut doesn't heal, does it? It doesn't matter how many supplements I push into that corpse. It doesn't heal. Because they're missing what? Life. They're missing life. They're missing the power that animates our physiology. They're missing the spark, the spirit. You can call it whatever you want to, but they're missing the energy. Yes? Well, the energy just comes from the brain. So when I say brain and spinal cord, I'm not talking about the material. I'm talking about the thing you cannot explain, the thing you cannot measure, the thing that the entire scientific community has no idea how to explain when conception happens and life starts. They can't explain that, or what happens when someone passes and the life leaves. They can't measure that. But that's the power that created you in your mother's womb. When you were in creation, when two cells came together and the cells started to multiply and that power was starting to create, that power has never left you. That power is what runs your heart. That power is what fights the cancer. That power is what allows your hair to grow. Or for the cells to regenerate, and or for the bad cells to die and the new cells to be made. That power never leaves you. What we want to do in healthcare, not sick care, in healthcare, is to remove the stress or the interference in that power and to let it to do its job. Your body needs no help healing, it just needs no interference. So removing those interference, like the nutritions and the things that we talked about, those are important, but the job of your bones of your back, your spinal column, is designed to protect that system. That is which is most important. If you think that there's intelligent design, the brain and spinal cord is the only organ completely protected by bone. Kind of cool, huh? Mm-hmm. The job of the spine is to protect that spinal cord, but through stresses and physical stress, things can shift out of alignment and they can interfere with that communication. So again, if there's a misalignment that puts pressure on the nerve going to your heart, I don't care how good your supplementation regimen is, there's still pressure on the nerve to your heart. Yes or yes? Yes. Who knows someone who's like done it all right, ate good, exercised, looked great, and still got disease? Jim Fixx? Who remembers Jim Fixx? Not everybody. He was like the guy who made running popular. Like jogging was a thing because of him. He looked great. After a couple miles run, he came home at like 45 years old and dropped dead of a heart attack. Versus someone who does it all wrong and lives till they're 90. Who knows that weird uncle that keeps showing up to family reunions who drinks a fifth and smokes a pack every day?
George Burns.
like, how in the world does that not like, okay, it is because the body is able to heal the damage that that person is doing to themselves. So if someone smokes every single day and they live into their 90s, that smoke is causing damage to their lungs, yes or yes? Yes. But their body is able to deal with the damage and to regenerate and to heal from what they're doing. If their body stops regenerating and stops healing, that's when it turns into disease. Your nerve system is what controls the rate at which you heal. Now, I'm not saying get adjusted, correct your spine, and you can go smoke and drink a fifth a day. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you have one person that has damage on their nerve system versus one person that does not have damage on their nerve system, and they're living the same lifestyle, guess who gets disease versus who doesn't? It's the person who doesn't heal, self-regulate like the other person. Does that make sense? So, patience, what's this called? The arc of what? It's written right there, come on. The arc of life. Because the power that's in your brain to get to your pinky toe, to get to your colon, to get to your heart, has to flow through that area of your nerve system. That's why they call it the arc of life. Who remembers Christopher Reeves? Got bucked out the horse, landed weird on his neck, broke the second bone in his body. Everyone say axis. C2, axis. Broke it, shifted. It was like 2 or 3 millimeters. Shifted 2 or 3 millimeters. Everybody, 2 or 3 millimeters. How far is that? It's like this far. Okay? That amount of pressure on the brainstem caused him to become what? It shut off the life energy communication to his muscles. But it wasn't just muscles. I mean, he had to have a pacemaker put in because his heart wasn't beating. He had to put him on a ventilator because the lungs weren't breathing. The nurses had to massage the colon so that he would go to the bathroom in a bag because the muscles of his colon weren't functioning. He damaged the very top area of his neck, and it shut down almost every facet of his physiology. In fact, he only lived about 9 years after the injury, but his body aged 50 years. If you kind of imagine seeing pictures of him. His body aged so much faster because his body was not able to heal and regulate because of the damage to the nerve system. Now, that was an extreme example, right? But you guys understand the principle. If they were able to magically fix that damage, which an adjustment wouldn't have corrected that, but if they would have somehow magically fixed that damage and replugged in the brain to the body, plug it back in, what would have happened to his organs? His muscles would have started to work again. His heart would have started to beat again. His lungs would have been able to breathe again. His stomach would have been able to digest food again. That's how powerful your body's ability to self-regulate is, but it's through that nerve system. So a subluxation, everyone say subluxation, is a term used to describe a misalignment in the spine that interferes with the neural pathway. Chiropractic is designed to correct subluxation, not your back pain. Sometimes back pain allows a patient to show up in the office because we're very good at helping with back pain, but I'm adjusting your spine, not because it hurts, but because we found a misalignment that was causing the pain. I'm not treating your pain. Drugs treat your pain. I'm trying to correct the damage. Does that make sense? Now, that same low back pain, where the nerve is getting damaged, it goes to your colon. Whether you have colon disease or not, should we still fix it? Who wants to wait for the bang? So, here's an example. This is a patient that came into the office. She has had, let me back this up. I've never actually told the full story. So when she was younger, she had a couple fender benders that were not bad. Who's ever had a fender bender that no big deal. Anything over 8 miles an hour is known to cause ligament damage. Now, that little jar could have shifted something a tiny bit, maybe not even enough to cause pain. But then you fast forward 15 years on that little injury left uncorrected, eventually that could turn into a problem. Yes or yes? Okay, so a couple fender benders, but no big deal. She was a student, she ended up getting a desk job, so worked at a computer. Where's your head when you work at a computer? She obviously had social media on her phones, stuff like that. She had kids, spouse, stress? Yes? Okay, so she eventually got symptoms. So she started getting headaches and migraines. Guess what you take when you have migraines? Medication. In fact, she even got Emitrex shots because they were so bad. She had blood pressure issues because of the medication she was on. She had thyroid issues. She clearly came with thyroid issues, with weight loss issues. She had fatigue issues, and she had fibromyalgia eventually. So it just hurt all over all the time. Now, she had been to doctors, got all the diagnosis, she was on a plethora of medications, but she wasn't getting any healthier. Now, she'd also been to chiropractors. She'd go in and say, Doc, it's right here. It's right there. Feel it. It's right there. And guess what the chiropractor did? Popped the neck. Doc, today, you know what? It's like right here. I need a crack right there. Chiropractor cracked her back. Lasted for a couple days, couple weeks. She came back, kind of hurt again. Chiropractor cracked her neck. Great relationship. She came in, got adjusted when she hurt. She didn't come in any other time. She only came in when it hurts. And that was her chiropractic experience. Who's ever had something like that before? Okay. That's obviously not what we do. Because I want you to feel better, but the goal is to get you better, not just make you feel better. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay. So she finally comes in the office, and we took an x-ray. Even some of our other chiropractors did x-rays, but they didn't really explain it. So patients, what's wrong with this x-ray? Curve or no curve?
No curve.
Missing the arc of...
Eye.
So everyone do this with their hand. Put a nice curve. See how nice and loose the skin is? See how nice and loose the skin is when you have a good curve? Lose the curve. What happens to the skin? Tightens, it stretches. The spinal cord sits right inside of the canal, right behind the vertebral bodies. Your spinal cord sits right there. When you have a good curve in your neck, your spinal cord is nice and relaxed. There's no tension, there's no damage. So how much communication comes from the brain to the body? 100%. Now, when you lose the curve, it stretches. Now imagine if I took a rubber band and I stretched a rubber band. The rubber band gets thinner, yes? So if that spinal cord is getting thinned, is there 100% life energy flow?
No.
Of course not. So is your body getting healthy or sick?
Sick.
So specifically, the top bone in your neck needs to be at a 31-degree angle. It's at a 19. So there's a tremendous amount of pressure in our brainstem. Guess what that's causing? Migraine headaches. It's also leading to stuff like depression because it interferes with your serotonin levels. This middle part of the neck where we see the majority of the damage, the reverse curve, that's the area of the nervous system controls our thyroid. How's our thyroid doing? Is there an amount of thyroid medication in the world that would get pressure off of that thyroid to allow that thyroid to function at 100%? Yes or no? No. Of course not. But the doctors put her on thyroid drugs because that's what they do in the medical world. I'm not saying your medical doctors are bad people. Like, I have friends that are medical doctors and they're great people. They are medical doctors, though. They practice medicine, but they're not practicing this health care. It's not their fault, okay? So she has all these other symptoms. Her body is clearly sick. It's shutting down. There's damage on her nervous system, blocking her body's ability to self-regulate. Now, guess what? She's actually done really good nutrition protocols. I mean, she's done keto. She'd lose a little bit of weight and then do what? It'd come right back because her thermostat is set. So we go through a corrective protocol, right? Corrective protocol. Rehab. Specific spinal correction exercises, post-adjustment, very different kinds of adjustments. Y'all do your at-home rehab, yes or yes? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay. If we do the right things, the spine starts to correct. Not just because she has neck pain, but because there is damage. After we get correction and we start to get the curve back in her neck and we get tension off of that spinal cord, more what starts to occur? More communication starts to happen. So guess what happens to organ function? Worse or better? Better. Is that a belief or is that a law of anatomy? Who's ever heard this? Well, I don't believe in chiropractic. Who's ever heard that? I have. I'm like, if you don't believe in chiropractic and I cut all the nerves to your heart, what still happens? Not a belief. That's a law of anatomy. Nervous system governs the function of organs. So when we get pressure off of the nervous system, the body starts to heal. Now, do you think your thyroid instantly healed? No, because there's a law of matter, and one of the laws is that healing takes what? Time. It takes time. If you have a kink in your garden hose that's allowed the grass to starve from water, it's all brown. If I just unkink it for like a day or two, it's not like the grass turns green again. You have to unkink it and leave it unkinked. One of the most famous chiropractors in the world used to talk about correcting spines like this. So talking about subluxations. Find it, fix it, maintain it. Find it, fix it, maintain it. If you're not maintaining it, you're just treating symptoms. So once we were able to get correction, I think that says 49% correction. 49% correction, pressure's coming up her nervous system, her body did heal. So all of her symptoms went away. But she wasn't just a chiropractic patient, she was a Max Living 5 Essentials patient, so she started to implement all the other stuff that we talk about. And not only did she come off medications or feel better, but you can see the life transformation. So when you were doing those two visualizations, she chose to do the one that allowed her to live the life of her dreams. Okay? And you have the ability to make that decision too. Now you have a chart in your sheet that basically just has like a spine and all the nerves and stuff. Can you break that out real quick? Should look like this. Real quick, everybody bust that out. I know, I'm over 5 minutes. Everybody okay? Dr. Jill yelled at me. I have to hear the wrath of that beautiful woman. Everybody's okay though? Okay. So sheet, it says effects of spinal misalignments. What's another word for spinal misalignment? Subluxation. So on the left, these are the numbers of the bone. So C1, C2. C2 is the axis. That's the one that Superman got damaged. The first column, right, or the second column is the areas that it controls. So it talks about the nerves that are like the organs that are controlled. And the far right is going to be like effects or symptoms that could be related to the stress of the nerve system. Now, is every headache caused by a subluxation in the top part of your neck? Those beers you drink tomorrow that cause you to have a headache are not from a subluxation. They're from the beers. Okay? But if someone has constant headaches, it might be a good idea that we kind of see if it could be caused by a subluxation. Does that make sense? Okay. Because if your thyroid issue, if your digestive issue, if your blood pressure issue, if your heart issue is caused by a subluxation, wouldn't you want to know? Yes or yes? Of course. So these are warning signs that there could be subluxations in the spine. Headaches. It is not a lack of ibuprofen. It is the fact that there is some sort of dysfunction going on. Menstrual issues. This is kind of a big deal because when ladies are younger and they have real bad cycle issues, infrequent cycle issues, real bad flow, real bad pain, what do medical doctors try to give them? Birth control. Not because they're sexually active, but because they have poor symptoms, like they have bad symptoms. That is the craziest thing in the world because birth control limits your ability to have babies down the road. It's a high number, okay? Not to mention it increases your risk of breast cancer by 80% if you take a birth control. Because it's a hormone disruptor. It's tricking your body. You should never trick your innate intelligence. It's a bad idea, okay? Depression, if there's a subluxation in the upper part of the neck, it affects serotonin regulation. So I can't tell you how many patients come in maybe because their back or their neck hurt to get adjusted and they're off all of their antidepressant medications because they no longer have the chemical imbalance. Their body is now self-regulating their serotonin levels, okay? Numbness and tingling is clearly a pinched nerve, same thing with sciatic neck issues, dizziness, acid reflux, food intolerances, asthma, allergies, ear infections. This is a big one I'm gonna hit on real quick because kiddos is a big deal, like the future of our culture, right? We're all gonna take care of this one day. Ear infections are prescribed almost 99% of the time in antibiotic. 80% of ear infections are viral. What does an antibiotic do for a virus? Not a dang thing. But you go to the doctor and you want them to give, not you, I'm talking to everybody else. You want them to give you something because you're paying them, give me something, and they want to give you something because you showed up. They want to help. They want to do something. The problem is an antibiotic does not do anything for a viral infection. In fact, it damages your system. It causes leaky gut. It causes weakness in the immune system and allows disease to build. Even one round of antibiotic, if not corrected, can have devastating effects later on in life. We have kids sometimes coming to the clinic that have been on round and round and round of antibiotics. We find that there's a misalignment in the upper part of their neck that's affecting your eustachian tube, or their immune system's weak. We adjust that little baby, no more ear infections, no more drugs. Radical different outcome in that baby's life because they came to the office and started getting their nerve system checked, okay? Constipation, pressure on the nerve affecting weakness in the colon. Same thing, if you have pressure on the nerve that's causing muscle spasm, if that spasm is in your colon, what's that called? IBS, okay? And then sleep issues, the list goes on. Now, most of you guys are patient. Now, there are some guests in the room, but most of you are patients. You're already getting adjusted. I'm preaching to the choir. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay, which is great. Everybody needs to be preached. Just because you accepted Jesus doesn't mean you don't need to go to church on Sundays, okay? But the idea is this. You all know someone else maybe that is not a patient, that has potential symptoms like this, that is being fed lies by their doctor, or lies by culture, or lies by the food industry, or lies by the pharmaceutical companies, and they're being told that they need drugs or surgery. Every single person knows someone like that. If they continue down that pathway, they will end up with sickness and disease, without a doubt. Now, sometimes our family and friends are hardest to convince, yes or yes? Yes. Your job is not to convince them, your job is to get them in front of me. I will convince them. Don't teach them about chiropractic. Maybe show them the chart. Let me teach them about chiropractic. That is my job. Your job is to just help them go in the right direction. Fair enough? My mom that got sick and passed away almost 5 years ago. I wish to God that somebody would have told her about an office like this 40 years ago. Does that make sense? Whatever their excuses are, time, energy, resources, I would give every second and every bit of money I had to get my mom back. But that was the bang, like she was too late. The bang happened and there was no turning her back from that. So if you know someone, like plug them into the clinic, get them one of those VIP passes, or get them hooked on a webinar, or bring them to a future event, because we have all the potential to save lives with this sort of content information. Yes or yes? Yes. If you're a guest though, like if you were brought, this is your warning sign. You're left of bang, hopefully. Hopefully you're left of bang. Please start to take action. So a step could be that you just get checked in the office. Get your spine nerve system checked. Yes, I think you should do the advanced plan. Yes, I think you should get on the supplement bundle. Yes, I think you should start to exercise or watch out for toxins. But if you're not checking your nerve system, you have a massive blind spot. If you've never been checked, I want you to think about this. So if you were to go to the medical doctor and you were going to get a full spine neurology test, thermal imaging, to check to see if there's stress on your nerve system, full spine digital x-rays, orthopedic exam, consultation with a neurologist to find out if you have a subluxation, which they don't do, by the way, but if you went to the hospital to get all that done, what would it cost? Thousands of dollars. Now, would it be worth it to find out there's pressure on the nerve going to your heart so you can avoid a heart attack? Yes or yes? Yes. Of course it would be. But they don't do it. Now, in our office, that sort of testing is normally around $280, $290. Is it worth it? Of course, absolutely. I think every one of us, you would be able to pay that in a heartbeat if you knew what it was going to prevent. Now, because you came here today, because you put the energy and the timing to come and just listen to us and to hopefully take some action, what we'll do is we're going to reduce that total fee to $37. $37 gets you a full spine evaluation, thermal imaging, full spine digital x-rays, a sit-down conversation with the doctor, me specifically, to let you know if there is something that's interfering with your body's ability to self-heal and regulate, or creating a symptom. Worth $37, yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay, so you have that sheet of paper? Yes? That has like the symptoms on it and all the information at the bottom. If you would like to take advantage of this. By the way, if you sign up today, it includes your x-rays, so the 37 even includes your digital x-rays. If you do all that, it's $37. Now here's the catch. Everyone say catch. The $37 is to hold your spot. So I'm gonna ask you to pay the $37 to reserve your appointment fee. Okay? If something happens, you have to reschedule, that's okay. It's to reserve your spot, because I wanna make sure that you come into the clinic, because are we a busy office, yes or yes?
Yes.
I want you to take one of those spots, but I don't want you to take one of those spots and then not show up. Okay, so that's why I charge you the $37, not because I need your $37. I want you to come in to get an evaluation to see if there's an opportunity to prevent the bad outcome you were thinking about. Does it make sense? Okay, so fill this out. You can turn it in to the girls. They'll take care of you at the front. If you didn't get your supplements and you still want some, there might be some available. I don't know, probably sold out of bundles, but we can always pre-order. Okay, so action steps. If you're a patient, get in the challenge group. Make sure you get your resources. And then, so the challenge starts a week from Monday. So not tomorrow and not Monday. Okay, I want to give you time to maybe review content. I did record it. We'll see what it turns out like. Okay, review the content, go online, and I'll add some additional content information. So challenge starts a week from Monday. I have no idea what the date is. That's the goal. Do you have to start on Monday? No, but like, that's what we're gonna try to do. Cool? If you're not a patient, make sure you're plugged into that same thing, that closed Facebook group, get into resources, and then get checked. Get your spine nervous system checked. Cool? Okay. All right, guys, I really appreciate you and your time. I really hope that this was impactful and that you guys are gonna do just an awesome, amazing job with the challenge. Cool?